did. Okay, it's 6 p.m., and I now call this meeting to order. Leslie, if you'd like to take roll, please.
Douglas Mead. Present. Fred Strassow. Strassow. Oh, I remember now.
Nassau.
Got it. Patricia Radburn.
She's walking right behind you.
Wonderful.
Well, that was the shortest meeting yet, Samir.
Milton Jones. Jason Pago Plain.
Close. Here.
Here?
She gets an A.
Sorry. Samir Yannick. He's there. Samir, are you here?
Here.
Good. Vice Chair Wolf
Here.
and Chair Elfman.
Here.
All present.
Great. Thank you. We have a quorum. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Jason, if you could please lead us.
Flag is behind the stage. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll ask for a motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Okay. Any changes? Nope. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, just for the record, that was Mr. Wolf as the first
Maker of the motion.
and the second name.
Doug Mead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to get started. Each member of the public that wishes, each member of the public that wishes to speak after each item is presented and discussed by the board will have 3 minutes per item. Representatives of associations will have 5 minutes. If we could please swear in anybody who's going to speak.
Members of the public that are going to speak on any item today, would you please stand to be sworn? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. When you approach the dais at the time that you speak, just state your name for the record and that you have been sworn. Thanks.
Thank you. Our first case number 24110001, 2950 Southwest 17th Place. Do we have an applicant? Okay. Whoever's going to be speaking, if you could please come up. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In the back is the variance
And Shaquille, I'll keep a copy for the record.
can you hear me?
No, press the middle button.
Okay.
There you go. Now you're good.
Our attorney is apologizing. He's very sick today, so he couldn't appear. So it's our decision to move forward just for the record, okay?
Okay. So I'm going to ask for disclosures first, and then there may be a question. I'm going to ask you to state your name. So we're going to start with disclosures. Milton?
No, I don't have any.
Doug?
None.
Fred?
None.
Bob?
None.
Jason?
None.
Pat?
I got a copy of a letter that was sent to someone at the city today about this, but I don't even know who it was from, quite frankly. So.
Okay. And I did a site visit before the last one. So, okay. If you could please state your name, relation to the property, and I'll let you start from there.
My name is Hani Levy, and I'm the owner of the property. Good evening, board. Good evening, member of the board. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to address you again regarding the request for a variance. I appreciate your time and consideration of this matter. I would like to take a moment to ensure that the criteria for regarding this variance are very clear and have been fully addressed. First and foremost, our attorney presentation during the previous meeting clearly demonstrate that all legal criteria for granting a variance under ULDR have been met. To the end, I would ask the board please review slide 4 to 10 of the attached material, which set out discuss the 5 criteria for variance under the ULDR. The argument is simple. We met each one. It's in the back of the package. The neighbors failed to explain how single-family home could be in compliant with adjoining properties of surrounding neighborhood, nor did provide any evidence to show how this variance would determination to the public welfare. Even if there is a concern about the purpose driveway, the driveway met all set of requirements, and no proof of disturbance has been shown. Further, it appears that some of neighbors' objections to this variance are motivated by the desire to continue using the property for their own purpose, such as parking, cars, or storing items, none which will relevant to the variance criteria. The Airbnb argument is meritless, as it assuming something that have not happened. Moreover, we provide petition from neighbors supporting variance. The neighbors who supported my variance presented solid argument in favor of it, highlighting key benefits such as increased property value, proper maintenance of the land, removal of the cysts carrying verm, and reduce an element littering. Now, I want to address Ms. Rasbert, and I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Comments on question from previous meeting about double dipping regarding my lawsuit. To clarify, my lawsuit is solely about seeking justice for what has been done to me and to my business. The people who should be standing here today are the seller of the land. They are one who should have done all the necessary homework before guaranteeing buildable land for someone. The seller and the seller agent should have contacted the zoning department, asking the necessary question, and obtain all the required information about the condition on the land before advertising it as buildable. This is exactly what the board is here for, to help in helplessness situation like mine. My biggest mistake in this case was believing in real business practice and trusting people would be honest when they do business. I believe they guarantee that the land was buildable. I would also like to point out that the seller has multiple opportunities to rectify this situation. Just 5 days after closing, I gave them the chance to take the land back. If you take a look at the material provided to the board, I have been completely transparent. I include private emails, included correspondence with the seller agent, and letter from my attorney dated October 26, offering to undo the sale. At that point, I had not incurred any significant damages and was simply seeking to reverse the transaction. Also, all I have done by buying the land from 1818 is mitigated my damages and source access to my land, which everyone should be legally allowed to do. This is something that the seller should have handled before putting the land up for sale. If I were in the seller position and discovered that the land, after closing, that the land was landlocked, the first thing I would have do is return buyer money and resolve the issue. Acting otherwise is dishonest and unethical. In addition to this, I don't know how those individuals can sleep at night knowing what I have to go through. This is why I am seeking justice, and I hope this address Ms. Resbert's question for my previous meeting. Finally, I addressing the hardship. The hardship in this case is fact that the land is a landlocked. This is very obvious and self-explanatory. It doesn't require extensive explanation because it's clear to anyone reviewing this case without buying the land from 1818, I have no legal access to my property. This means I cannot walk on my land, maintain it, or utilize it meaningful way. It directly impacts the usability, value, and basic functionality on the property. I also want to make it very clear that necessity of guaranteeing this variance is undeniable. No one would willingly pay $350,000 for a landlocked property unless there was reasonable expectation that legal access would be granted. The idea that this purchase was made without that expectation is completely unrealistic. This is not a matter of fraction over cost, but rather serious hardship that only this variance can address. I respectfully request that the board focus on established criteria for variance and overwhelming evidence showing that this request met those criteria. Granting this variance is not only reasonable but necessary to ensure that I have a fair legal access to my property as intended under the law. Thank you again for your time and attention. I'm happy to answer any question or clarify any point as needed.
Thank you. If I could have you just please sit aside. We're going to open the public hearing first, see if anybody from the public wishes to speak, and we'll bring it back to the board for any questions that we have.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to now open this up to the public. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on this matter? Okay. Oh, we have one? Okay. If you could please come up, and I'm going to ask you to state your name and address, and we're going to keep time, so you'll have 3 minutes.
Need my glasses. Hello, board members. My name is Henry Alvarez. I live at 2911 Gertrude's Place, literally to the south of that property that the young lady was talking about. I've lived there since '91, so that's been my neighborhood, and I grew up across the street from there also. So I'm very, very, very familiar with that neighborhood and what it's become and what it is and what could be and so on and so forth. I've lived there and known that that property was, my understanding was landlocked, period, for as long as I've lived there. Anybody who's surrounded that property knew that from the start. I understand that she went and purchased it and she blames it on the neighbor that sold it to her and so on and so forth, but maybe she should have did a little more detail to find out about that. I'm sorry that she lost money, but that's business. Business is business. You win and lose sometimes. I understand that she's trying to do a variance for a driveway through somebody else's, between two houses, to get access to her property. My understanding from what she's said before in the past in the news and so on and so forth, her intent is to build multiple homes there. I know there's a plan currently for one, but it could be divided into 2 or 3. If she only is asking to drive through somebody's, between two houses to get to that property, what's going to stop her from asking to get to the second property and potentially the third property? So there's going to be, this is just maybe possibly the beginning of what she may be asking for. The other thing is the flag that they're asking for, the variance to go through 2 houses. It's literally 30th Terrace. The house is in the middle. You got 30th Terrace, 17th, and now the driveway and the flag that goes behind it. So you literally have somebody's house that they purchased to live there with their family, surrounded basically by 4 different streets: a driveway, a street in the front, street to the north, and a driveway in the back, which could be eventually extended to the other 1 or 2 properties that's been plotted there. So that is mainly my concern. I mean, I was told there that who originally owned that property, because I've seen 2 different owners of that lot, that they've created some kind of moratorium that nobody's to build on it for 90 years. I don't know if that's true or not, if that was ever brought up or not. I'm just bringing that up. And the other question is, my last question, if a car is coming down 30th Terrace, let's say a UPS, garbage truck, how are they going to know the turn? Are they going to turn on 17th, or are they going to turn between 2 houses in the driveway to access that first house that they're building there? So, the address of the property, I think it's already saying 17th place, but there's a street there. So why they need a driveway to get to the property? That's the question that I think everybody should be asking. If there's a street there, which they don't have access to, other people do, they're creating a variance that could affect other people in the neighborhood, that if you have enough property between it and you want to drive a driveway to get to the back of your lot, because there's a lot of 1-acre lots there, you're starting possibly more of that in that neighborhood, because if you go through there, you'll see there's several lots that are 1 acres, and people can build that.
Okay, thank you. We actually went a little over time, but thank you on that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, is there anybody else that wishes to speak to this matter? Yes, please. We'll start here and then we'll go. We have plenty of time. Please state your name and your property address.
Thank you, Board. My name is Kelly Salsamindi. My address is 2971 Southwest 17th Place. At the last meeting, everything was moved to this meeting because the question was brought up, why not use Southwest 17th Place? And I'm here to directly answer that. The original easement is a private easement for the use of the following owners, and you can find that on the Nancy Williams plat. And that plat page was actually added to the applicant's request for a variance on pages 128 and 129. I'm presuming that you have a copy of their application handy. Is that a yes, maybe? So do you have a copy of the Nancy Williams plat? And you'll find in the upper left-hand side where it says that the easement is for the use of the properties listed. Also, per the email from Bert Ford, the acting zoning administration and zoning chief planner examiner for the city of Fort Lauderdale, contained within Ms. Levy's application on pages 105 and 106, he says that 2971, built in 1974, that's our home, and 2961 and 1951, built in 1975, were granted access through the privately owned easement before the current Fort Lauderdale Municipal Code that was written in 1997. The code which must now be followed. The access cannot be through an agreement between private parties. It must be a publicly owned right-of-way. He goes on to list section 4724.5a, defining a subdivision of land into 2 or more lots, and section 4724.5d3g, speaking to access to a public street. Additionally, we, the owners on Southwest 17th Place, do not want additional traffic on what has been our peaceful and quiet street. We are willing to build a fence to limit the access to the adjacent property, and or a gate on Southwest 17th Place to control traffic if necessary. And then finally, the risks of managing our road financially with others. The costs and risks could include but not be limited to pipe and sewer damage and repavement. As this easement is a private easement and not maintained by the county or city, we, the homeowners, are required to maintain the road. Additional traffic of construction vehicles is and would be putting additional strain and wear and tear on the road. Since purchasing the property, H&M have used our roads as access. Load after load of fill has been brought in, and then recently, in order to comply with permitting, they had to remove fill, thereby having additional trucks coming through. Additionally, due to the narrow width of our street, these trucks have often damaged our grass and foliage as they attempt to make narrow turns.
Just going to ask you to kind of finish the sentence one more time.
City trucks have also repeatedly been on our private road in order to connect water to the property, and while this is reasonable in accordance to the wording of the easement for utility purposes, they have also cut up the road and left it unpaved for extended lengths of time. We respectfully request that you do not seek to have this property have access through Southwest 17th Place. Thank you, board members.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak? Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Before you do, okay, we're good. Go ahead. Trying to be fair, left and right side of the room.
Okay.
Yes, please state your name and property address.
All right. My name is Martin Kessler, and I live at 1790 Southwest 30th Terrace. I live at the house where they want to build the road right next to my house. I spoke about this last time. I'm going to have a road down both sides of my house, and in the front and one in the back. And, putting my small piece of land, it's not like I have an acre of land and it's not going to make a difference in my life, but I got this small little piece of land. The way I believe it, if they do this, it's going to kill my property values. They made a trade with the neighbor, for their property and a pool and cash, from what I hear. They're not offering me anything out of this, and I just don't want a street being like 15 feet from my bedroom window. And like I said, he was saying, there is a clause on that property. And it's in 2 properties right now, but it used to be 1 property. And that you can find right on the Broward County website. It was not supposed to be built on for 99 years. And you have to forgive me, I'm not really a good public speaker.
Don't worry about it.
Like I said, the neighbors were offered something, and, I'm now getting a lawsuit over a fence that doesn't even belong to me. So not only did I not get anything, now I'm being sued.
Sir, anything you give us, we're going to have to keep a copy of. Do you have an extra for yourself?
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
that's for you.
Thank you.
It is. I just don't believe in the variance. The road's going to be really close to my house and the neighbor's house who made the agreement with them. And how many homes they're going to build there? I've heard anywhere from 3 homes down to 1 now, or is it going to be something later down the road? And now there's going to be more traffic. And she talks about her emotional distress and hardship and everything, and it's stressing me out. I don't want to see this happen. I don't want to see them lose money or anything else, but it's stressing me out. And the way they're depicting me in a lawsuit, it's like I'm intentionally causing them not to have access to the property. And they go back there all the time. They've got equipment back there that they work with, and they're just evil, vile people. And I don't know how much time I got up here, but it's
12
upsetting
seconds.
me. And that's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Okay, now I won't forget you over there to the left. Thank you.
Hi. So I'm helping her out. I sat down with her.
And I'm going to ask you to state your name and your property address.
Hi, my name is Mariana Menendez, 1818 Southwest 30th Terrace. Mariana Menendez. So after the last meeting, we were left with two questions, which is what I want to address, is due diligence, if due diligence was done when purchasing the property, and what they did to avoid the flagship issue. I believe that because of their language barriers, they didn't really answer those correctly, which is what I want to answer right now. If the property listings on the MLS, actually I have a copy here of all of the points and copies of like the MLS like listing, the emails, the communication, and the survey requests that they did before purchasing the property, which didn't include any of that. So the property listing listed the property as a great location to build on, build to suit, 20,599 square foot lot, quiet neighborhood, long-term residence home values in Chula Vista have grown to 20.2 per year over the last 3 years. Those were the words on the MLS listing. The initial email to the city for information was on September 4th of last year. So it's been like, they've been trying to like get this resolved for over a year. On September 8th, there was a second request for someone who could help determine if the land was buildable. On September 11, there was an in-person meeting to find out if there were issues with the property before they made the decision to purchase the property. A contract to purchase was signed on 9/15, and on 9/15, that very same day, they hired Supreme Title and Escrow to represent them and ask them if there were any issues on the on whether the land was buildable, and they were advised that there were no issues. The first survey was ordered on September 26, before the contract was signed to, or before the closing date. And the closing date took place on September 29th. So that was after the survey. They received the survey. The survey didn't mention it because it was on the survey of the other properties, which they found out a few days after that. On October 8th, they reached out to the seller after having verified that it was not buildable to revert the transaction. So that was merely days after. What they did to avoid the issue of the flagship, for several months, they tried to negotiate with the current homeowners on 17 Place. They offered money, they offered different things. And after several months of negotiation that they didn't allow, that's when they came over to my husband and I to try to figure another way that they could get into the property. Otherwise, all of their investment would have been a loss. They decided to speak to the homeowners, like to us, and that was like several months because they had to like go through our mortgage company, they had to like pay, and all of this was done after they met with the city. The city was the one that told them that they might be able to do land transfer because doing an easement through us was not going to be allowed. Otherwise, they would have just done an easement, which is simpler and didn't require them to pay money to my mortgage company. Sorry. The land transfer was very challenging, and on the, let me see, they were trying to reverse the contract with the seller. They took about a month trying to do that, and they just declined. That's why they went ahead with a lawsuit to try to recover mitigate their loss.
Sorry, that means time's up.
That's fine.
Chair, if I may,
Yes.
the speaker had mentioned several times statements made by the city. Can you be more definitive as to whom at the city you spoke with?
And Pat, if I could get those documents back so I could keep them in the folder.
So I don't have the exact names. That was I sat down with her and went through all of the points. When they were trying to get permits done for building on the land, they were denied, and then the city, they said that the city...
So the city of Fort Lauderdale is very big, has several departments. Can you narrow it down to
So if she can come up and answer those questions, because I wasn't there.
Okay, so you're testifying about something that you weren't... ma'am, I'm asking... Ma'am, she's giving sworn testimony you're giving sworn testimony that these statements were made by the city. So I'm asking you, this is your sworn testimony.
Correct. And at the beginning, I don't know if you heard me, I said that I was doing this on her behalf because her English is not good. I sat down with her and wrote all of the points coming from her. So this is really...
Thank you, ma'am. You may be seated.
Eh? No, like, I'm replying to like the fact that the statement at the
Thank-
beginning,
thank
I
you,
said it
thank
was
you.
on her behalf.
Thank you. You can have a seat. Thanks.
Hang on to this stuff. This is what you read.
Yeah, well, the rest of the things are for you guys. Their email communication with her reaching out to the city. It's the email to the title company, the email for the survey, and all of those things are there.
It's not really relevant for us. I'm going to have you come back at the end after everybody has spoken. By the way, while we're here, give you the
Do you
rest
have any other questions?
Thank you.
No, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak? Okay, sir. Please come on up. And please state your name, property address, and as you know, you have 3 minutes.
Yes. My name is Michael Pelleggi, and I live in 1818 30th Terrace. It's my understanding, first of all, that the board members are to act in a fiduciary duty, and that you guys have to are obligated to act on the facts. And so, with that, I want to ask you guys to first of all, let's recall that the questions that were brought up in the last session about H&M, if they did their due diligence, and it's been demonstrated that they did. Now, I know that questions were brought up about conversations by Mr. Dwayne, I can't see your last name, sir, about who was spoken with in the city, but the emails are there. And so the conversations that are being had with my wife, emails have been seen. Names cannot be reproduced at this very instance. But
That's all. I want the record
Right.
to reflect that. So
Right.
that's all I wanted to solicit.
Thank you, sir.
It's a very general statement to say the city. And if you don't have any names, that's fine as long as the records reflect
I appreciate the clarifying question. So, anyway, let's see. A member of the board asked a question last session about why to allow this request. And, the package was already provided in December 11th. It already had why, but that is only the reason why I'm making that statement is to demonstrate how difficult this whole situation is. And I would not want to be in your steps right now, having to hear and deal with all of this. But the decision has to be made based on the grounds that H&M did their due diligence, did not seek out to do a land division, sought out help from us, the neighbors, right, my wife and I. But they also sought out before us from the neighbors that lived in 17th Place. And the neighbors over there denied. They denied, and a great explanation was given by the second person who gave a testimony as to why they're denying. And as a result, they found us as a solution. But this came with new problems. Concerns were left in the last meeting. They do their due diligence. And, the fact is that they did do their due diligence. Attempts were made to try to make matters right, to be able to have access to their land. But these matters are so difficult, even by members of the board and by us and by just about everybody, because it's such a difficult dilemma to be in. Now, any person who's hearing this has to put to rest the following: any personal or interpersonal matter is irrelevant. It's whether or not they should receive this variance so they can have access to the land that they bought. That's really all this is. In the same block, there are exemptions with flag codes, and there are other cases similarly that have been dealt in this way. Now, why would it be allowed for others to have flags and not for them? It's obvious that it's not an easy matter, but that's why the exemption is being asked. H&M is not some corporate conglomerate with endless resources. It's two regular people who have put their life savings and did everything right to ensure everything was done correctly. Matters have been talked about whether or not this landlocked was because of the 99-year lease. The 99-year lease was something released a while back. So if you decline this request, you're telling these people who have done their due diligence, who have spent their time, their resources, and have had to go back and forth with their land and their investment and their future, all of that to be lost, to be nothing. So I ask the members of the board to do the right thing, to vote yes on this matter, to allow this variance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else wishing to speak? Yes, sir. You can come on up. And I'll ask you to, like everybody else, your name and property address.
Michael Hill, 3061 Southwest 17 Place. I don't know. Yeah, 17 Place, 17 Terra. It's on the close by. To answer the question of the lawyer for the city, on month 9, on the 11th of 2023, few days before I purchased that property, I was personally here at the zoning officer that is representing the department, asking for the same question that we've been asking before we purchased the property, which everybody is claiming that we don't do due diligence. And here is the proof of day and time that what they print, all the criteria for that property, for the URDR, saying that there was a buildable plan, and that's what I went through and purchased the property.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
is that a zoning determination letter, sir?
Maybe you could take a look real quick, Doug, see what it is.
The printout that you received, is that a zoning determination letter?
It's the printout of the
It looks like the requirements.
requirement for that RD 60 RD.
No, it's just highlighted the zoning code based upon.
Okay, so it seems as if it's just
not
an
a
inquiry.
City staff.
It seems to be from the ULDR records.
Thank you.
Anyone see it?
No, I've seen it, but I think he's gonna wanna.
That's it.
Show it for the record. Let anybody else take a look.
Gonna get you a seat up here. Put you right in the middle.
And I stopped the clock, so you still have more time. You're fine. Oh, was there anything else that you wish to speak? Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak to this matter? Okay, in that case, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'm going to bring the applicant back up. In fact, do you have any rebuttal, anything to finish before the board has some questions for you?
Just for the board, she wanted a copy of that, so the girl went in, Karen, to make a copy. She'll be back in a few minutes. The copy support was given here.
The one that she was given to clarify the points that she was saying. But I will use that time to just close my argument and say that, again, everything that I heard from the neighbors is not related to the criteria why we are here for. Is against personal issue that I'm begging from you guys, but just to focus on the criteria that required and not the personal issue between neighbors and why maybe we don't like each other or we do like each other and why to hurt each other. It's irrelevant, all these comments that I heard right now. They get to use and enjoy their property, their home. I don't get to use my land as equal right, as a normal right as everybody should have. It's unfair that they get to use it. I only build a driveway like everybody else. It doesn't matter if you drive from this street or that street. I'm not asking them to use the 17th place. I'm building my own driveway, and the zoning department here to concur that I met all the requirements. My permit is almost approved. It's just based on this one thing, this variance, and it's a driveway like everybody else having his home. We're not asking for any exception. And when I get the copies, I will make the final points.
Well, let's see if in the meantime, since there is some delay, let's see if the board has any questions for you.
Okay.
So
that's
I'll
why.
open up to the board if there's any questions.
Got one.
Okay, Bob, go ahead.
When you purchased this property, were you represented by a realtor
Correct.
and a title company?
That's correct. Supreme Title and Escrow.
And they had no knowledge of the issues you were facing when you purchased this property?
I wish they would told me about that I will be able to run away as fast as I could. And actually in the package there that she was given, there is the record, how much I paid them, and who represented me as a title agency. So I would like to get that package and show it to you
Well,
guys.
that's okay. It's irrelevant how much you paid them. It's
Yeah,
just
but it's
curious.
there with the receipts of everything to clarify it.
I mean, there's a due diligence responsibility a title company needs to do with the realtor.
The realtor, the seller had his attorney and his realtor, and I had my realtor and my closing agency and the title company.
Anything else, Bob? Okay. Fred?
Question. On the survey that we've been given, the 20-foot easement continues east beyond the property line that is shown at 128-foot width. And there is a note that it's the southeast corner of Lot 8, Block 2, and that the lot that is dotted in is 60 feet. Is that another developable lot that will be accessed by this easement?
If you can explain it to me a little bit more simple, this is just gibberish to me, I might be able to answer. But if you
Is it your intent to develop
I need you to go
one
back behind
lot,
the microphone.
one land, one house.
but the easement continues into this is the property line for this property. That easement continues, and it says that there's a lot from here to here that's 60 feet.
And I'm going to ask you to go back there and speak. So you may be walking back and forth.
Now I think I understand what you're asking.
So-
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that partial of the land at that moment. It might be just going to be a park or garden, or it might be available to develop in the future, but at that moment, we don't know what's going to happen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Dwayne, I'm sorry. Did you have something you want to add? We're good.
Yeah,
Pat, go ahead.
I have two things. Somebody, and I'm not even sure who gave it to us. There's copies of two deeds, both of which were not in the previous package, that have a restrictive covenant on them that's saying that no single or multifamily dwelling is to be constructed on the property for 99 years. And I think someone said that that was...
Correct. So I found that out actually from their neighbor when it was during the due diligence time. I found it out from them. And when I found it out, I actually went to the closing agency and told them, I want my money back. I want to back off the deal. And that raised actually a big blowout between all of us, because they told me that if I take my escrow money, I'm lose it because I don't have... they resolved that issue, which they did. The owner did resolve that issue.
So
I received
so
a release.
those restrictions were
Correct,
removed.
correct.
Okay. All right. So that was that question. The second one is in your narrative, apparently, you're addressing questions I had at the last meeting. There you go. And you say you hope it addresses my questions from the previous meeting. My question from the previous meeting was about the easement, and I wanted to know why, if there was an easement, you were not allowed to use it. And that's why you're back here tonight, is because I asked that question, and I wanted to know if there was an easement along this property line, how it was restricted to certain parcels and excluded yours. So that was my question, and that is why I think you are back tonight to answer that. I think that the only thing that was submitted, and Dwayne, maybe you can clarify this a little bit, is a copy of the Nancy Williams plat.
Correct. So they
And
did.
their property is part of the, what is their property, part of Rohan, something or other?
Yeah, so let me explain. They did provide the information that explains the access to the 25-foot easement. If you have their survey, and if the board will indulge me as I walk you through it.
I don't have their
The
survey.
large survey that was part of your packet for last month.
Last time, right, which is in the trunk of my car right now.
Okay, so So on the north end of the property, there is a notation for a 25-foot easement for egress,
Right.
ingress, egress, access, and utility purposes, and it references the Nancy Williams plat, and that's why they've provided the plat to demonstrate what that note
Yeah.
dedicates this plat,
Right.
that easement
Okay,
for.
so I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Sure.
the easement that shows on the south side of the Nancy Williams plat is actually the easement that's shown on the north side of
North
this
side
survey.
of this property, right. And so your inquiry was whether or not, since it's contiguous and adjacent to their property, whether or not they have access to that 25-foot easement, and they do not.
Okay.
So the Nancy Williams plat, if you look at the dedication language on that plat, it states that the easement shown herein is dedicated for perpetual use of the above owners, heirs, and assigns for ingress, egress, access, and utility purposes. So that easement that just covers lots 1, 2, and 3 of the Nancy Williams plat is dedicated only for the owners of those particular lots. Then the question was the part that's just west of there that is not indicated on this survey, but that I identified on the Broward County right-of-way map. It references a warranty deed, which the applicant has provided, and that deed speaks to an easement over the south 25 feet of the west 130 feet of Lot 9 for road purposes, and that's dedicated to this particular owner, who I assume sold his interest in the portions of Lot 9 to the folks that now have lots 1, 2, and 3 of the Nancy Williams plat. So together with the easement dedicated via warranty deed and the easement dedicated by plat, the owners of lots 1, 2, and 3 have exclusive use and access of that 25-foot easement along the north side of the subject property.
Okay. All right, that was my question from the last meeting. So, thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Anybody else have any questions of the applicant? Thank you, ma'am. We're just going to bring it back to the board.
Let me just explain those.
What is that you were looking to
That's
explain?
the question that they have about the paperwork. So I just gonna explain it and leave.
Okay, which paperwork is that?
Sure. My question was, there was reference made to statements by the city, and I was asking for clarification as to who at the city, and that is what the applicant is attempting to address.
I'm gonna hand this the buildable land. This is the title company that we use.
Oh, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah. Is anything there as far as the city notes?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the title insurance that we have, and this is also the letter to undo the sale. This is the survey company, and this is the zoning, as we clear that it was handed us in September 11th.
Let me see that for a moment.
That's from the zoning department.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Dwayne, basically what this is it's notes that may have been handed that just said that based upon certain plots, certain square footages, this is the buildable.
So
it's
to
not any
make-
certification from the city. It's just the notes printed out.
To explain, Dwayne, address your question, everything, we got a big package that day from the zoning department with all the requirement, but the most important thing to tell us that the land was a landlocked was not there. That was the whole point of being here and going straight to this door, sitting down with the person in there and gathering all the information that we need before our closing. So that's to clarify the question.
Yeah. So Dwayne, this is just the stating what the zoning is that can be built with the size lot.
As long as the board understands what material was presented, if you have any questions, the staff can address that. But I just want the record clear as to what they obtained from the city.
Thank you. And we did have a copy of this that passed around previously. Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
I got a staff question. If this is a private easement, why does it have a street name?
He made the sign. Somebody did.
I don't know.
I mean, is that common?
I think it'd be more of a public works question. I don't think zoning has those answers for you.
We were told at the last meeting that that sign that I asked a question on looked like a Broward County sign, was made by one of the adjacent owners.
I don't know what to do with all this stuff. We'll give it to Shaquilla, and she could be the keeper. Congratulations. Okay. If there is nothing else, I'll ask if there anybody from the board like to make a motion.
I got a couple of questions.
Oh, still questions. Okay, go ahead, Fred.
Bert, let me see if I got it. The zoning is RS 6.85B. Can you tell me what the lot width and area is for that zoning? Because it was not in our backup.
Lot width requirements. So that's in the annexed area.
Yep.
And the annexed area is pretty liberal when it comes to lot width. It only requires that 19 feet be abutting a street for access.
How many feet?
19.
So 1818, which is the property that they bought or are trying to include as the flag lot, meets that criteria.
Well, I think the driveway is 20 feet wide.
No, I want to make sure that the parcel that they are acquiring the easement leaves the property at 1818 meet the zoning code.
It does.
Okay.
You said a few questions, Fred?
Well, that covers the bulk of it, because if the width is there,
Oh,
then
you
the
go back
area
on
is
microphone.
there.
Okay. Thank you. In that case, I will bring it back for a motion unless there is any further questions. I know I look at you, Pat, but you speak eloquently. Would you like to make a motion?
Not particularly.
Okay.
Pat, you're so good.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Fred.
I mean, I'd like to get out of here tonight. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the variance for section 47-24.5.D.3.E as the request meets the requirements of the Land Development Code.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Leslie?
Mr. Mead,
No.
Mr. Jones,
No.
Mr. Strassow,
No.
Miss Ratburn, Mr. Hochplain,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wolf,
No.
Chair Elfman.
No. Motion fails. Okay. We're going to move on to our next case. Case number 2409-0005, address 909 Southwest 19th Street. And before you get started, sir, I'm just going to ask if there's any disclosures. So we'll start with Milton. Doug?
No.
Fred?
Site visit?
Bob?
None.
Jason?
Nope.
Pat? And I had a site visit. Okay, sir, if you could please state your name, property address. And
Good
go from
evening,
there.
board members. My name is Bilal Salah. I'm the licensed general contractor for property 909 Southwest 19th Street. And I'm here before you today to request a variance to allow an existing carport to be transferred into a garage. Now, the problem with the carport now is it's sitting within the 5-foot setback of the neighbor by 0.28 feet, which comes out to less than 5 inches. The framework is already there. There's bushes to the west, and we already spoke to the neighbor to the west, and they don't have an issue with it. The other request we're asking for here is that the homeowner currently has an overhang, and the overhang is hanging 1.8 feet, and the most allowable overhang is 1.57 feet, which would come out to about 4.1 inches too long. And we're asking for you guys not to make the homeowner change the overhang on the entire west portion of his home.
So, Board, I have a couple of clarifications that I just want you to be aware of. Prior to the meeting, I researched a couple of things, and I did look at a building permit application that was submitted. And on that permit and it failed. That's the reason that they're here, because of the side yard setback. But they're currently asking for 4.72 foot setback, but on their site plan, they have a proposed setback of 4.1. So I just want to let everyone who's involved know that if a variance today gets approved for 4.72, we still cannot pass the application that's before us in the building department. That's asking for a proposed setback of 4.1. So I don't know if the applicant wants to change it, and I don't know, to 4.1, if you guys will accept that at this time, or if they plan on revising the building permit application to reflect 4.72.
Your turn.
So if you guys would allow me to do a verbal correction, we would like to apply for that. If not, we can make the revision through the architect and have it added to the plans and upload it to the system.
Dwayne, is that okay as far as what's been advertised?
Well,
good. That's what you get the big bucks for.
Maybe if you can accept.
So I'm looking at the set of plans, and the 4.7 feet is indicated at the face of the garage, but it's diagonal and not directly parallel with the property line. So the rear of the garage is at the 4.1 feet. So the issue that is. Hold on a moment.
I've got.
It said that there's a difference between. Okay. No. So that's. The issue here is that you're advertised for an existing carport. The survey is accurate and correct. What Bert is pointing out is that there is a plan for a proposed garage that shows a different dimension. At this time, the advertised notice is for the existing carports being closed at 4.72, and that's what the board is. That's what's noticed, and that's what the board can consider at this time.
Understood. So we'll have to make corrections and come back before you.
So to the applicant, just to let you know, the survey which is there, which you have presented at this time, that is what is on the agenda. But your drawings is showing something else, which is more than what you're asking for. So
Understood.
probably you got the option to fix it and whatever you want, because the survey usually that's what we go by, what you provide us. But if you want more than that, then you have got the option to go back. We'll re-advertise it, and to really what you if it's
we're asking for what's on the survey, not what's on the plan.
So you're going to revise the plan?
Yes.
It's easy.
Okay.
We're out of
that's
here.
what we have advertised.
We need a motion to continue?
Oh, no, we still.
I'm not sure I get this, so somebody is
Yeah,
going
we're
to.
still going to hear it. We still have a public hearing, and we still got procedures. So thank you for the most recent information. Anything else to add at this time? Anything else you want to add, Mohammed?
No, that's it.
Okay.
If they want to go back to the survey, that's what we have advertised on the survey, what we have.
Okay.
But their site plan, which have been submitted, is off to what the survey is.
So they're going to resubmit their site plan as he stated.
Can I just, sorry, question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Not a particular question. If you get approved for a variance for an existing structure and you rebuild something, does a variance cover what you build new, or is this only to make
No.
what's currently there legal?
No, your variance covers what you receive the variance for, and in this case, they're seeking a variance for an existing carport. I'm not sure why we have in our packet a proposed garage that's of a different depth dimension, but no, the variance would not apply to the new garage.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, back to you, sir. Sorry, we kind of cut you short.
No problem. I'm just trying to also get an understanding of what the correction that Mr. Reynolds suggested is that on my plan, I'm asking for more of a variance than I actually need. So I don't need to do that. I can have this revised and then, I can have the correction added to the system by tomorrow, but I know that I won't be able to get in front of the agenda until next month if that's what would happen
But
here.
we know at this point you're asking for what you have advertised, which is the 4.72.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that you didn't get a chance to say? I know we had questions in between.
No, I appreciate you guys just having us up here and giving us an opportunity to do this for our client. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Don't go too far in case there's other questions. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on this matter? And if you could please state your name, property address.
Sure. It's Ola Muir, 912 Southwest 19th Street. I own the property directly across from the Campbells, and I urge you to grant the request for a variance. We're talking a matter of inches. The property is pristine all the time, and I'm facing it. I have no problem with it. I can't imagine anybody else would either. So just, from my viewpoint, I ask you to grant the variance. Thank you,
sir. Is there anybody else wishing to speak on this? Yes, sir. I assume since you're sitting between the two of them, it's probably something friendly?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My name is Ryan Campbell. I'm the owner of the property. I just want to give you guys a couple of reasons that I want to frame the carport in. First and foremost is for privacy. My laundry room is out there, and that's where me and my wife do our laundry. It's, it'd be nice to have a little privacy. More security for some storage. Like he says, I think I like to keep my property tidy and neat. And I think that's, an area to keep it more tidy and neat. I think it'll add a little curb appeal to the neighborhood. And, that's really it. I'll keep it brief. Thanks.
Thank you.
Did you say you were Ryan or Brian? Brian. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else from the public? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Do we have any questions of the applicant? Okay. If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
We're going to hear both of the variance requests as one motion.
Let's do them individually.
I think they go hand in glove.
Okay, so you're saying you would like to handle them together?
I think.
Okay, go for it, Fred.
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve Section 47 variance for Section 47-5.31 and for Section 47-19.2.b as the variance meets the requirements of the Land Development Code.
Second.
Okay, we had 2 seconds. Mr. Wolf was the initial second. Okay, any further discussion? Okay. Your turn, Leslie.
Thank you. Just for the record, that was Mr. Strassow that made the motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Ratburn? Yes. Mr. Hojaplane?
Hagopian.
Hagobian?
Yes.
Am I saying Hagobian?
That's why I use first names, by the way.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Strassow?
Yes.
Mr. Mead?
Yes.
Vice Chair Wolf?
Yes.
Chair Elfman?
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
All right.
You can take your bodyguards with you. You're good.
I have a question for Dwayne.
Oh, you're good. Thank you.
You had requested and Pat can certainly back me up on this, that the motion needs to reflect that the variance request meets the requirements of the Land Development Code. In this case, it really doesn't. So my question is, why do you want that included in the motion?
So you have the criteria that's within the Land Development Code, the criteria for approval of a variance.
Right.
And so that's,
Okay, so
instead
it's
of saying...
it's
instead
one of the four, it's the minimum dimension that...
Correct. So instead of telling you to cite to that code section every time you say it, I just say the criteria as provided in the Unified Land Development Regulations.
Okay, so this is anchored by what's in the Land Development Code as one of the four requirements, not...
If you're more comfortable, you can say it meets the criteria as provided in the Land Development Code for the approval of a variance.
I like that a whole lot better. Now I understand it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. There you go, Fred. So I'll expect you to make the next motion.
No, Pat's on now.
Okay, next case, case number 241-000-0005. Property address 1036 Southeast 12th Way. Do we have an applicant? Okay, while you're coming up, I'm going to ask for disclosures. Milton? Doug? Fred? 1036 Southeast 12th Way. Yep. Bob?
None.
Okay, Jason?
Nope.
Pat? And I had a site visit. Okay, sir, please state your name and your property address.
My name is Roberto Pena, and I am the contractor that is handling the Met Wally family's fence approval, if possible, with this variance. It's literally concrete pillars that have been in place for many, many years. The pool was built, and I believe it was 1972. I'm not correct if that's 100% sure. But if the variance states that we have to go back 3 feet, and then you have, of course, your landscaping. If we did that, the fence would be in the pool. So she's asking for an old wood fence that's on existing pillars to be remodified with a louver fence to be installed. So we remove the wood and reinstall with a louver fence, which are just panels. We're not removing any concrete. We're not removing any pillars. All we're doing is removing the fence, wood, and replacing it with a louver fence. I spoke with Mr. Burt. I spoke with Mr. James, and I spoke with Mrs. Karen. On all three of them, we've had meetings, and I want to say thank you very much, Mrs. Karen, for all your help, and I really do mean that. I'm just going to say I've never been through a situation like this, high school education, and determining on your factor, all we're doing is really removing a wood fence in between concrete columns and replacing it with aluminum louver fence, and it's along a sidewalk. And like I said, she has a pool, and it was, permitted by the, city of Fort Lauderdale, with no issues. The columns, she has a permit. It was also permitted. And now she wants to just change it out because the wood is rotten. It's been, 20 years. And all she wants to do is put in aluminum. Really, that is the fact of what this whole thing is about. I don't know what else to put in there besides that, but Mrs. Metwally and Mr. Metwally have been more than kind with me, but they've gotten upset with me because they think that, I was not telling them the truth from the beginning. I did not know at the time that it was going to be where we're at today. Her neighbors have a fence right along the sidewalk. Within 300 feet, we had to get names and addresses of other people. And we did that, and there was no complaints. Nobody said nothing. And I don't know if anybody from the public's going to be here on that because everybody agreed. but on their behalf, I'm here to just state that we're looking to get a permit to just finish the fence.
Okay, thank you. We may have some questions for you, so just have you have a seat not too far.
No problem.
And we'll go from there. Is
Thank
there
you.
anybody from the public wishing to speak on this matter? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Do we have any questions of the applicant? I guess, sir, I'm going to ask you to step back up to the microphone and maybe some questions. Go ahead, Fred.
Guess it's my turn in the barrel. Couple of things.
Sure.
Number one, the survey, you said that if they move the fence back to meet the code, the fence would be in the pool or the pool deck. I didn't.
Pool decks, I'm sorry, I said
Okay.
pool, but pool deck, yes, sir.
I do not see a dimension from the property line to the edge of the pool deck. So I don't know how you can say that, other than the fact that I'm sure that you've been on the site and you know what it is. But,
Yes, yes,
but
sir.
it appears to be, if the columns that are shown as being somewhere between 4.7 and 5.5 are correct, it appears proportionally that the edge of the pool deck is at least 5 feet back from the property line. And I can tell you, and this is going to come up on the next application as well, you can't say something and not show it on the survey. So I guess secondly, I think that with a little bit of ingenuity, you can probably design a fence that will meet the 3-foot average, very important average. May not be able to use the concrete columns that are there, but your owner's application in their narrative said that our architect, Robert Tuthill, said that the fence around the original swimming pool and diving board was grandfathered in, but any new fencing would have to be 3 feet in from the sidewalk. That's part of what was submitted to us as the reason why they're requesting a variance. They chose, or their contractor chose, so they allowed their contractor to take that wood fence out. For whatever reason, it's gone. And clearly in their narrative, they knew that when they took that fence down, they were going to have to move it back. My question to staff, and it's a question that has bugged me for years. Bert, can you explain to us what is the requirement in the land development code to get a permit for rebuilding a fence? If I have a fence and I take one board out and replace it, I'm assuming that does not take a permit. If I take 2 boards out, it doesn't require a permit. At some point, and it may be structural, at some point the city is requiring a building permit, and now it has to meet the zoning code. So my question is, how does the department decide when a building permit is required?
We don't make that decision. The Florida Building Code does. The Broward County Chapter 1 for the Florida Building Code specifically states under the permit section FPC 105 that any alteration, any repair, and any installation of a fence requires a permit. And we have to follow the Florida Building Code.
Okay, so if that is what triggers a permit, I would submit that it would have been helpful for the applicant to submitted that, or that the building department include that in what we were sent, so we know what we're trying to deal with. Because in 50 years, I have never run into a definition as to what's required.
So I don't understand what you said you want us to include what?
No, I'm just saying, I think that that's part of what the staff should have required, either provided us at the very beginning, or that the applicant didn't submit it because he didn't want to bring that to bear on our decision tonight. Clearly, when they took the wood out, they were required to build a new fence.
That's correct.
Okay.
Can I add, due to them having the fence, I'm in a pool, no issues there. Fence has to be put up due to, safety reasons.
Right. This is not the first rodeo.
Oh, I'm sure. And like you said, we don't want to be here all night.
Yeah.
But here we go again. I'm asking simply, there's columns that been there. I mean, I'm sure there's pictures that we sent. Those columns have been there forever. And I don't say forever as in, since the beginning of time. But what I'm saying is they were permitted. The pool was permitted. All we're asking is to remove old wood fence that is on the sidewalk and replace it with louver aluminum fence. That's all we're asking. I know there's a criteria with new rules, and I'm not the one to say what you need to do or what I should do. I'm listening to whatever you have to say, and of course we have to abide by that. But I'm asking, is that this serious where everyone around them within 300 feet, and we went
That's not true. I drove all of Rio Vista because I've lived there since 1946.
Okay, sir.
And there is almost no fence that is 6 feet 6 inches high, that's solid, that sits on the back edge of the sidewalk, that has been constructed in the last 8 years or whenever we initiated the fence ordinance.
If
1997.
If I may.
Be careful because it's 6'6".
No.
There are plenty of walls that are less than that.
That's what I have pictures of walls that are along the sidewalk, and they put wood on those walls, and then they took the wood down and put metal fence in.
Because that is transparent, and that's what the code addresses.
Okay, so if she were to go with transparent in between the columns,
Yeah.
you're saying that there wouldn't be an issue?
I'm not going to say that, but that would certainly be an improvement.
Okay, and then can I ask you this?
Now,
if she does go transparent and we apply for it, will that pass to get our permit?
You're going to have to work with the department. I'm not going to make that decision tonight, but my point is that the fence has to average 3 feet. And down on the west end,
yes, sir,
there is a huge section, I don't know because there's not a dimension on that again, that is set back a considerable distance. And if the fence that you're talking about were to set back a foot or 18 inches, use the columns and put a spacer in there and put your railing in there and move the other chain link fence back 6 or 7 feet, which certainly would not hurt anybody because there's a hedge in front of it. You could meet the requirements of the Land Development Code to average 3 feet.
I can't disagree with you because I don't know that.
I don't either, and
Yeah,
I haven't got the information on the survey to do that.
Correct, sir, correct. And I can't stand here and say something that is not true. But what I am saying is, if possible,
Yeah.
will the variance approve if it was transparent, 75% see-through?
I don't know that it's going to be approved at any
Can
level.
I ask Mr. Burt?
Oh, yeah, I don't know whether he's going to
Mr. Burt, if it was 6-foot fence in between existing columns and it was transparent, and will that raise up an issue with the variance?
If it's transparent, I think
So
it's okay.
if it's no more than 4 foot 4 inches tall and 75% see-through, 75% non-opaque, then it can be placed
On the sidewalk.
It can be placed closer so that the foundation doesn't go beyond the sidewalk. But yes, it essentially could be pretty close to the front property line. And at 4'4", that's 52 inches. Florida Building Code, the residential code requires a minimum of 48 inches for the pool barrier. So it's compliant on both of them.
So let me ask you, so I'm just want to know for my own, because I pull permits all the time, and this is what I definitely don't want to go through again. Anything on the sidewalk, 4 foot tall, whether it be louver, transparent, railing, or wood, 4 foot high, no issues along the sidewalk. Is that correct?
Has to be transparent.
4 foot 4 inches and 75% see-through.
See-through. Correct. Okay. I'm 100% sure, and thank you very much for
Well,
addressing that, because
we've struggled with it, and it's all done in order to be able to make the neighborhood look better rather than walled off like you see in Spain. where
No, I'm with you.
There's
I'm with you.
6 foot walls around the whole town.
I'm with you 100% on that. But like I say, I don't understand, because she had 6 foot wood fence in between columns, what the difference would be, but rules are rules, and they change. And I'm agreeing with you. So 4 foot period, Mr. Burt? 4 foot 4, okay.
I would suggest that before you draw something up, you go in and sketch it out with him and let him tell you whether.
Oh, I've met with Mr. Burt many times. Good man. And I like you, Mr. Burt. Thank you. And I appreciate all your help, Mr. James, too. But like I say, I didn't know that at the time that I sold the job, and Lord knows, my father's the one who sold the job. Universal Fence has been around forever. And I had to take over because my dad's 88 years old and he can't do it no more. And I have never run into this criteria. It's an experience, and I do appreciate your time. And thank you very much, and I learned a lot tonight. And I want to just say that I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Well, I want to ask the applicant a question. Is due to the fact of everything you just learned today, do you still want to move forward on this application as you have it?
I have to speak with the owners of the house before I
The
can.
owners of the house here?
No, they're not. And matter of fact, they asked me if they could come, and I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if it was for me or for them, and I wish they were here, because Miss Metwally, you would love her. They've been in that house since the 60s.
I would suggest that we continue
Yeah.
this.
I make a motion that we continue this to the next meeting in order for the applicant to confer with his clients and come back.
Okay, and now let me ask you: at any time these meetings happen, I can bring Mrs. Metwally, Mr. Metwally to join the meeting.
Well, if you can get with Mr. Ford and agree to what is legitimately meets the code, you don't have to come back.
All right. Well, I'll explain that to them tomorrow morning first thing. I will leave her a message tonight, but I do appreciate your time, and thank you very, very much.
Okay, so we're not done yet.
Okay.
You're actually done at the moment.
All right,
Unless there's
thank you.
anything else, but thank you. So we do have a motion, we do have a second. Is there any discussion?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
who was the motion made by?
The motion was made by
Thank you.
Pat.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Wolf? Ready?
Okay. Motion to defer, yes.
Okay. Mr. Hago BN?
Yes.
Better?
Yes.
Oh, it's your
Looking
first
for
time, full
approval.
time. Yes.
Before you vote, we just want to clarify something.
Yes.
It's better to defer till next month, because if you continue it, they'll have to be refeed. If it's deferred to next month, then they don't have a fee.
I can then.
Made your motion.
I'm hoping
amend my
that
motion.
you two can get together and tell them how to do a fence that doesn't have to come back.
Okay.
There you go.
Can I
Pat, go
amend
ahead.
my motion to
Please.
defer rather than to continue?
Okay, Bob is the second. You okay? Okay.
Okay.
Do I need to take a vote on the? No. I don't have to take
We
a
need
vote on the
roll
amendment of the
call
amendment.
Dwayne, do we need a roll call on the deferment? Okay. Mr. Hajo BN?
Yes.
Sir?
We'll work on it.
I know, I'm phonetically challenged. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Rathburn? Yes. Mr. Strassow?
Yes.
Mr. Mead?
Yes.
Vice Chair Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Elfman?
Yes.
Chair Elfman, sorry.
Okay.
Stop biting your lip.
There we go. Okay. We're going to bring up the next case. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
We may or may not see you at a future meeting on this case.
I'm hoping not.
Okay.
Thank you.
We won't take that personal. Okay. Next case number 241-20001, 720 Isle of Palms Drive. We'll start with disclosures. And Milton? Doug? Fred?
Yeah, I drove by the site. You can't see anything. Thank you.
Okay. Bob?
None.
Jason?
Nope.
Pat? Pat? Okay. And I drove by the site as well and saw what I could see. We all good so far, Leslie? With the disclosures? Okay. Thank you. So, Andrew, if you could, of course, state your name and...
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. Andrew Shine with Lockery and Chakas here representing the property owner, and yes, I have been sworn in. In light of comments made on the previous application by Mr. Stressow,
Lead on that.
I would like to defer this until the next hearing if possible. I do, and I did hear this from somebody else earlier as well, that there is a dimension or a line missing on the survey that would be extremely helpful for the board to get the full picture of this.
And to locate the face of the seawall.
Correct. Yeah, the face of the seawall is located on the old survey, which is shown on the property line. Unfortunately, on this survey, it was just assumed that it was on the property line.
It doesn't label that, so
That's
make sure
correct.
it's labeled.
That's
If
correct.
Would you like me to get the two of you a room? Okay.
He's buying drinks later on.
Okay.
Please let the record reflect that I am not, because I am not allowed to do that. Dwayne.
Isn't there a dollar amount?
No, but
Based
so
on
Andrew,
the
you're asking to
applicant's,
defer?
request, I make a motion that we defer this
Second.
to the next meeting.
Okay, still a second, Bob?
Yes.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, Leslie?
She didn't know it was coming that quick.
Hagopian.
Take a breath.
Yes.
Take a breath.
Huh? Actually, I didn't say it. The applicant did.
Hogobian, right? Hajo,
Hagopian.
Hadobian.
Yeah, perfect.
Hey,
Yes.
Can we just
Yes.
change it? How about Smith or Jones?
Mr. Stressow?
Yes.
Mr. Mead?
Yes.
Ms. Ratburn? Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Vice Chair Wolf?
Yes.
Chair Elfman?
Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Okay.
I'm glad.
So, do we have any communication for the City Commission? Do we have anything for the good of the city?
Yeah, so, board, I have something to read to you from the planning department. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Bert.
Let me get this back up again. It's about special exceptions for sidewalks. Caroline would have been doing that.
We're going to use our outer voice, right? Ah, okay. Technical difficulties. We're
If the people at that end of the table get shorter names than the people at this end of the table.
yeah, we're in good shape. Do you want me to stall a little bit, Bert, or you coming up?
Yes.
Welcome to the board, Samir.
Watch the late movies. It's a one-night stand.
We're still on the air. Shaquila? Shaquila? While we're waiting for Bert, there is pizza there,
That's for staff.
but there is food there. Okay.
That's for staff, right?
For everybody.
All right, so this is from the planning department.
Yes.
Topic sidewalk installation waiver process, proposed revisions. So they're looking at rewriting the code.
They who?
The Planning Department, City of Fort Lauderdale. So let me just read this. Let me read this to you.
Not the commission.
The proposed amendments revise the process to request relief from the requirements to install a new sidewalk to the Development Review Committee in lieu of the Board of Adjustment. And if the application is denied by the DRC, the applicant can appeal to the Board of Adjustment. The reason for the change is because the city received numerous complaints stating that the current process is onerous, prompting direction to staff to revise the development procedure. The amendments will also include criteria that the applicant will need to meet in order to be granted the waiver. Next step, staff is planning on bringing this item to the commission in February or March.
So that's going to mean, like, if I don't want to build a sidewalk in front of my house, I don't have to spend the money on an application to come to the Board of Adjustment. I can just go through city administratively, and that's not going to cost me anything. If I lose, then I come to the Board of Adjustment, or is that not?
I don't think the fee part of it's correct.
You
DRC
think
is
there's
a
still
level
gonna be a
2
fee?
planning review, and there is a fee associated with that, but it's going to go through the DRC review process instead of coming here. And if DRC denies it, then their appeal process will come to the Board of Adjustment.
And there's a fee to go to DRC.
I don't know the answer to that.
It-
Yeah, there's a fee to go to DRC.
This is
yes.
part of the consideration.
Yeah.
It is going to be a part of the consideration, and there will be a fee, but not as onerous.
Not as much as it is
yeah.
for the Board of Adjustment.
Can I
Correct.
make a suggestion to whomever out there?
City.
The city, all of you together. All the city of Fort Lauderdale.
Uh-huh.
Can somebody review neighborhood by neighborhood and just make a determination of certain neighborhoods that have no sidewalks, want no sidewalks, and just not make a requirement?
We can share that with planning staff. I mean, it takes a considerable resources to do a citywide plan, but yes, that can be communicated.
I mean, there are a lot of neighborhoods you just don't have them, don't want them, and it's just a process we don't need to go through.
But that's already in the code.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Where?
The neighborhood can petition the city of Fort Lauderdale based on their master plan to eliminate sidewalks, and that's what we've told these people.
The problem with that is the city, as far as I know, which is this much, requires 65% of a neighborhood to agree on something. When you have a lot of people who are only here part of the year, you can't get 65% of anybody to do anything.
That's true. I guess that every sidewalk, well, first of all, I had a very abbreviated conversation with one of our new commissioners, and he expressed that he was disturbed over the decisions that this board had made over granting special exceptions for some of the sidewalks in the last 4 months. And I argued with him, and I said the board was very careful to analyze every application that came before us on a lot-by-lot, application-by-application. It was not a blanket discussion about eliminating sidewalks. It had to do with existing trees. It had to do with existing sidewalks that are on the other side of the street. It had to do with properties that were up on the Coral Ridge Country Club that not a single lot in the neighborhood had a sidewalk. The other one was over in the southeast section on the entrance to the port, where we discussed where are the applicants. 2 of them represented that there weren't any sidewalks in the neighborhood, and Bob Gill built probably 900 sidewalks in the entire neighborhood adjacent to these people, and we didn't give it to them. So a blanket way of getting around not having to build sidewalks is, I don't think, in anybody's best interest. I think we do a pretty good job on evaluating exactly whether or not the sidewalks are needed or not. And the one that we did 2 months ago was the guy up on Andrews Avenue on 21st or whatever it was. And somehow or another, they did an interior lot first, and then I suggested that we do the corner first and see what we decided on that one, because it was diagonally across the street from sidewalks that ran all the way to Fort Lauderdale High School on the east, like 6 blocks or so. And so, you know, we said no on that, and that meant that we should have him continue to build a sidewalk on the lot that was to the east, or to the west towards Andrews Avenue, and that's 70% of that whole block. So, I mean, I don't know that what you're trying to do or affects this board making those kinds of decisions. I mean, you're in the hot seat. Who's directing you to do that?
City Commission.
That's exactly what I thought. That's why I started with Sorensen, and he said, I'm disturbed over what the board has decided. And that sucks.
Well, I think the City Commission is just looking for a streamlined process, not necessarily anything other than that. Streamline and less onerous and possibly less expensive. I think that was their direction.
Well, reduce the fee.
And I think that's part of the process that they're going to go through.
Well, streamlined process would definitely be appreciated considering how many cases we do have in front of us. So that would be ideal, just like tiki huts.
That's the purpose of it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's nothing else for the good of the city, then in that case, everybody happy New Year, and we're adjourned.
Thank you.